from the University of Florida College of Journalism and Communications. You're watching WUFT News at 6.
The boyfriend of Keonta Williams, the Gainesville mother whose body was found earlier this month, has pled guilty to her murder. Kelvin Renard Bryant pled guilty to manslaughter. Good evening. It's Tuesday, April 21st. I'm Chloe Stradinger.
And I'm Jessica Barreto. Thanks for joining us. Williams went missing in February after getting into an argument with Bryant. Alachua County Sheriff's deputies quickly honed in on Bryant and held him on grand theft charges after Williams went missing and they found her car in his possession. Deputies eventually charged him with murder as part of a plea agreement. Bryant helped lead authorities to where he left Williams' body. He now faces 35 years in prison.
Some residents of Marion County are looking for a new place to stay tonight.
After a tornado destroyed their homes during a severe thunderstorm yesterday afternoon. The tornado hit two neighborhoods, Palm Cay and Oak Run. Many residents were left distraught and trying to cope with the destruction.
I felt the rain get stronger, the wind get more intense than it was. So I decided I better find John, and we would go in the closet.
If you have been affected by the storm, you can call Marion County Emergency Management. The Red Cross is also offering assistance.
The UF weather team was tracking the storm live yesterday here on WUFT.
And UF forecaster Tony Sadiku joins us now for an analysis on what happened. Tony, there wasn't a warning issued, just not for a tornado.
Chloe, Jessica, yes, a severe thunderstorm warning was issued right before the tornado touched down, and the National Weather Service did mention that one could form. Well, I looked at radar data closely from yesterday, and what I found was that the tornado was likely wrapped in rain, making it very difficult to see. Secondly, the storm was more than 80 miles from the nearest radar site, which usually leads to poor quality of data. However, when you look at the storm velocities, you look at the storm motion, it was apparent that the storm was rotating a bit. I mean, notice how close the red and the green colors are to each other. The red is wind blowing away from the radar site. The green is wind blowing towards the radar site. And weak tornadoes such as this one can spin up quickly. And it's not that uncommon in this part of the country either. In fact, they occur just as much in Florida per square mile than Tornado Alley even. And that's why it's very important that folks really move indoors, especially, and away from windows as well. That's why we really try to emphasize that anytime a severe warning has been issued.
Thank you, Tony. And now switching gears, after yesterday's gloomy weather, we have a clear night ahead of us.
UF forecaster Ronnie Socash joins us live from the Weather Center with details. Ronnie?
Thank you. Yes, well, we just saw Tony talk about the radar that was just so ominous yesterday. And if we take a look at what we're expecting for tonight, well, it's not going to be nearly as hectic as we saw yesterday. Well, the radar tells the story. Take a look at Gainesville, High Springs, Waldo. There is nothing on radar at all for North Central Florida. We are in store for a really nice night to look out for tonight. Clear skies with temperatures, as we see here, dropping down to about the mid-60s. A few clouds gathering after midnight during those overnight hours, but it's going to be nothing too extreme at all. And when temperatures, your low tonight dipping just below 60 to 59 degrees. And my main weather forecast will let you know exactly when we can expect the next frontal system to hit. Back to you.
Thanks, Tony. Excuse me, Ronnie. A bill that would require a 24-hour waiting period for women seeking abortions advanced through the Florida House today. And some Gainesville women's rights groups are protesting the bill tonight. WFT's Sarah Daly has more.
The 24-hour wait bill just passed in the Florida House today. A Senate committee yesterday amended the bill to exclude women who can prove, with documentation such as a police report, they are victims of rape, incest, domestic violence, or human trafficking. The House bill now contains the same exceptions. The bill would make it illegal for a doctor to perform an abortion within 24 hours of a woman requesting one. Supporters of the bill say it will allow women to make more informed decisions before getting abortions. Critics say it will create a barrier to abortions and interfere in the relationships between women and doctors. The Gainesville chapters of the National Organization for Women and National Women's Liberation are holding a joint protest this evening at the intersection of University Avenue and Southwest 13th Street about the bill and other abortion-related issues.
Abortion is already out of reach for many women. It's just expensive. It's $400 to $700, and often you have to take off work, travel several miles or counties to get to a clinic. So that waiting period is really just another delay. It's hard to get off work. We don't need time to reflect.
Others say a woman's decision to have an abortion is one that should require much consideration and a mandatory waiting period could be beneficial.
I hope anyone who is contemplating an abortion has not entered into that decision lightly, and I would not presume that she has. We equally respect the sacredness of the life and well-being of the mother and unborn child.
The full Florida House will vote on the bill tomorrow. Sarah Daly, WUFT News.
The bill's Senate companion will appear on the Senate floor on Thursday. Gainesville police officers are making more arrests related to meth.
Recently, they arrested 2 men on meth-related charges. WFT's April Lanuza joins us in the newsroom. April, is there a reason behind this increase in meth-related arrests?
Well, GPD has a couple of theories as to why officers are seeing more meth on the streets of Alachua County. They think it's coming mainly from word of mouth about an easier way to make the drug. The ingredients are easy to get, and with a couple of simple items, a person can make meth anywhere, including the back of a car.
Mountain Dew bottle. You see the copper babies, you can still see a chemical reaction occurring.
Meth is not that hard to make. With an empty soda bottle and some over-the-counter products, a person can easily make the addictive drug. And some people in Alachua County are catching on.
It's been spread out. Typically in the past, you would see meth in the kind of the outlying, more rural areas, but we've been seeing it, here in the city. I think last year we had 14, the year before it was 2, and this year we're already up to 7, and it's only April. So we're on track to bust last year's record, and I think it's just going to continue to grow, unfortunately.
The department thinks this increase in meth production is coming from word spreading about the one-pot method, a way people can make meth without a lab, like in a soda bottle. But now, with an increase in training, officers can notice the signs behind a possible cooking situation.
We've also been training our officers on what to look for in everyday situations. I know there was a traffic stop the other day where they just happened to come across an active meth lab. Things like that may have been stuff that we may have missed in the past just due to training, and so that probably attributes a little bit of the uptick that we're seeing as well.
Detective Geckel stresses how the dangers go beyond the drug itself. A meth lab is unstable and can explode and leak dangerous gases, killing everyone involved or near the lab, including authorities. Police recognize meth as a growing threat in the area, and they are trying to prevent future labs from developing. Reporting from the newsroom, April Lanuza, WUFT News.
Thanks, April. An 80-acre portion of Bulwer Springs Nature Park is undergoing a restoration project that is designed to protect the native sandhill habitat. The work on the land began back in February, and the initial process of removing hundreds of shady oak trees is now complete. Now, Gainesville Natural Resource Management officials are monitoring the site to ensure that trees they removed did not grow back.
Starting probably this winter and moving into next year, we're going to start planting a lot of the wildflowers and grasses and other species that would naturally be the plants that occurred on this site.
The park is also home to a wide variety of animal species, including tortoises, snakes, and woodpeckers. Controlled burns were used to eliminate most of the invasive trees in that sandhill habitat, and the land will take about 10 years to return to its original form.
An executive order by the state of Florida in 2011 would have forced thousands of state employees to take suspicionless and mandatory drug tests.
After 4 years of litigation between Governor Rick Scott and the American Civil Liberties Union of Florida, they finally reached an agreement and narrowed down that number and categories of workers who would be subject to testing. WFT's Nicole Acevedo joins us now in the studio with more details on this story. Nicole, give me some background information on this.
Well, ladies, according to the ACLU, that executive order would have made more than 85,000 people take drug tests without any suspicion of wrongdoing. So that's when the ACLU started fighting back. The group argued it was a violation of the Fourth Amendment right to privacy and therefore unconstitutional. And a federal court of appeal agreed it was, but instead of eliminating the effort altogether, the court said there were some workers that might need to be tested just because of the nature of the work that they do. I spoke to Shalali Aguilar, with the Florida ACLU, and she said she was pretty shocked at the attempt to go through with the deal at all.
The frustrating thing about this process is that it's taken 4 years to put a stop to an obviously unconstitutional policy, and it's really been a large waste of resources and time.
And Agarwal also says the rate of positive drug tests among these workers before this executive action was only about 1 to 2%. So there didn't appear any really strong argument for testing in the beginning. And again, the governor and the SEIU have now agreed to begin working on a compromise, and now they finally reached that agreement.
So who's on the list of people that would have to be tested?
Well, let's look at this. Here's an outline of that consensus. The state and ACLU agree employees who work in safety-sensitive situations should be regularly drug tested. Some of those jobs are deemed inherently dangerous, and that includes, for example, people who operate firearms, railroads, heavy machinery, have commercial driver's license, and people who have custody or control of vulnerable populations like children, the elderly, or disabled. So now, in total, the state can legally drug test 157 different job classes, which would test about 7,000 people altogether, a significant drop from Scott's original proposal.
So is this a law, or what's the next step?
Well, so far they've actually just filed it with the district court, so it still needs to be approved, but if and when that is, there will be a guideline. That will be the guideline from here on out, and I did reach out to Governor Rick Scott's office for comment on that agreement, but have not yet received a response. But the ACLU says they are happy that they were able to represent these employees and with the overall outcome, and hope it will create a basis for similar issues in the future.
Thanks, Nicole. WFT News at 6 is just getting started. Coming up, Bluebell's worries continue. Ice cream around the country is being recalled under health concerns. We'll have more on that coming up.
Plus, 6 decades later, a Nazi concentration camp guard goes on trial. Those stories and more after the break. We'll be right back.